isn't really about, in my opinion, CBS being fearful of losing some sort of lawsuit. I think this is really about a merger that Paramount, the parent company for CBS, wants to ensure goes through without the Trump administration standing in the way.
In this video, Ana Kasparian reports on the latest in the 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview debacle. Ana Kasparian asks the question, after refusing to release the interview for so long, why release it now? The answers won't surprise you. With that, let's watch Ana Kasparian wreck deceptive, manipulative CBS and 60 Minutes for lying to the public.
CBS has officially released the full unedited version of the interview they had with Kamala Harris back in October for 60 Minutes. And I'm talking about the entirety, right? As she was sitting down to get framed, all of it. It's all released to the public as a result of Donald Trump and his FCC essentially going after CBS for what Trump believes was an unfair editing that made Kamala Harris look better than she really sounded. So if you can remember, the main point of interest and the controversy in this pre-election interview was that Kamala Harris seemingly gave two separate answers in response to a question on Israel on two different broadcasts, or not in two different broadcasts, same broadcast, but that CBS intentionally edited her answer in what aired on the official 60 Minutes interview to make her sound better. So in a teaser clip that was released on Face the Nation prior to the full interview being aired, you can see the following exchange between Kamala Harris and journalist Bill Whitaker. Okay, so Whitaker asks, does the US have no sway over Prime Minister Netanyahu? Harris responds, the aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles that were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And when we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah presents, Iran, I think that it is without any question our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks. Harris continued in her answer that was part of the teaser clip. Now the work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for a deal to be done, which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. And we're not going to stop in terms of putting that pressure on Israel and in the region, including Arab leaders. Whitaker kept pressing, saying, but it seems that
First of all, can you imagine if this retard was our president? The fakest human being on the planet. How could anyone have pretended that they like her? If they had just said, I hate Donald Trump, that's why I'm voting for. Cool, at least you're being honest. But she offered nothing. Her word salads had zero substance. But I digress. I think Donald Trump has a case. The question is why, when Donald Trump and the American public have been asking for the unedited version for so long, why now are they releasing? I think Anna's going to get into it here in this, so I don't want to rain on her parade, but I'll tell you, it's not out of altruism or doing the right thing. I guess I should reframe the question. What were they scared of by releasing it? What would that have hurt if they had nothing to hide? To me, that was an admission of guilt there, because it's not like one person was saying this and it's like, shut up, I don't need to release it to you. Half the country was saying this thing was edited to make Kamala Harris look better. If you have nothing to hide, just release the full tape. And they wouldn't forever. But let's see if Anna discusses the reasons why. Let's get back to the video.
That Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. And she says, well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. So upon first glance, like that exchange appeared to have been altered in the final cut of the full interview that aired for 60 Minutes. They basically cut it down significantly, right? And so what you saw if you watched the 60 Minutes interview was the following. Whitaker asks, does the US have no sway over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Harris responds, The work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles. Whitaker asks again, but it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. And then Harris responds, we are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. So the argument from the Trump team was, well, her actual full answer, which was edited down, was a word salad. It made her look bad. And CBS essentially put its thumb on the scale by editing her answer down so it's more concise and more like definitive and confident. And Trump kept arguing that, this was changing the outcome of the election, even though it didn't change the outcome of the election. Trump won. And honestly, Kamala Harris's campaign was not good. He won the popular vote. So why do you keep pressing on this issue? Why are you still moving forward with this attack against CBS and using the FCC in order to do it? So there was an inquiry. The inquiry was originally dismissed. However, the case was reopened when Trump appointed Brendan Carr as FCC chair. So the transcript, in my opinion.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Proves that CBS didn't really do anything crazy, right? Like, you have to sometimes edit a pre-recorded interview down because of time restrictions. If you're broadcasting on television, you have to cut to break. So you have to edit certain things down. But according to the New York Times, the transcript of the interview shows that Harris gave a lengthy answer to a question about Benjamin Netanyahu. About 21 seconds of that answer was aired in a preview of the interview on Face the Nation. A different 7-second part of the answer aired the next day in an episode of 60 Minutes. And so, the FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr wants to basically drag this out, drag it longer, seeking public comment on the complaint through March, stating that the people will have a chance to weigh in. But really, the big question here, Cenk, is why did CBS even comply with handing over the full transcript and the full unedited video of the interview that they had with Kamala Harris? They could have easily fought this in court and they would have won. And they're right about that. This is a very common thing that every television news organization does. Fox News does it. Sometimes.
Okay, look, to Anna's point, absolutely, 60 Minutes is not the Joe Rogan experience where Trump was just on there for 3 hours. But we also know Kamala Harris couldn't do a live interview for 20 minutes without looking like a jackass. And I mean that sincerely, not just because I can't stand the left. She was terrible when put on the spot. She'd talk and say nothing. So editing is common on CBS. They would do the same thing if Donald Trump was on there. The issue to me is in the preview, you give a 21-second answer, and then in the actual televised version, you give a 7-second answer. Why do you think that was? Could it be because at that time, word salad and Kamala Harris were synonymous, and you were making an effort to clean up her answer to be a short and concise one to make her look better? I think that Donald Trump has a case. I believe there was absolute intent to make Kamala Harris look better than she really is. However, I also think that because it is an edited show, I'm sure they have, editorial guidelines provided by Kamala, of course, and their own editorial guidelines. It might be hard to prove in court. But to Anna's point, why did they turn all this footage over? I asked the opposite question. Why didn't they a long time ago if they have nothing to hide? Who cares? It's not going to, if there's nothing wrong with it, it's not going to hurt CBS's image. It's going to vindicate them. So I don't know why she thinks it's crazy that they turned it over now. But before I get back to the video, the last thing the full tape shows is a lot of the behind the scenes of the interview. It really shows how staged everything Kamala Harris did was. Sorry, that was a bad sentence. You all know that, but there are many people that voted for her or say, hey, I don't see what all the fuss is about. She's not that bad. That should see this. Unfortunately, with all the evidence we had of her on the campaign trail appearing to be so staged and robotic, if they didn't notice it by then, this probably won't have an effect on him either. But for me, it just reinforced how big an effort behind the scenes her team put into trying to make her appear to be a living, breathing mammal. Anyway, let's wrap up the video.
If we have a pre-recorded interview that we want to use in a story that we're doing, but the answer is way too long, I'll try to find the heart of what the person is saying so we don't run out of time and we can talk about the story longer. But this isn't really about, in my opinion, CBS being fearful of losing some sort of lawsuit. I think this is really about a merger that Paramount, the parent company for CBS, wants to ensure goes through without the Trump administration standing in the way. So Sherry Redstone is the chair of CBS. CBS's parent company, Paramount. Paramount wants to merge with Skydance. And in order to merge with Skydance, you're going to need Trump administration officials to play ball and not stand in the way of that happening. So I believe that Sherry Redstone, who's going to make a lot of money off that merger, has an interest, a financial interest in just playing ball with Trump, giving him.
That's kind of the answer I was looking for from the beginning. And that answers the question of why they turned it over now. I still want to know why they didn't turn it over before if they did nothing wrong. But yeah, this Sherry Redstone stands to make a ton of money off this merger. And it's not just her, it's Paramount as a whole. You know, any little thing, any legal things especially, can gum up the works for a merger and kill the deal. So again, it's not CBS being altruistic and saying, you know what, this is the right thing to do. They're doing it because the top brass there said, this is what you're going to do. So this merger goes through. So nothing's changed. CBS, 60 Minutes are still scumbags. And as you'd expect, they're just doing it for selfish reasons. But we want to hear from you. What do you all think about this whole Kamala Harris 60 Minutes interview thing? Let us know. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.